Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana, and today we are talking about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and the Valley Persian style. Let's get into it. Happy Saturday evening, everyone. I hope that you've had a good day. This is your second episode of the day, and I'm recording these, what now, I guess 11 hours apart. I just really tried to stretch it out. I'm like, all right. But so much has happened in those 11 hours. Like, it's just been a really sad day, obviously, with everything that's going on in Minnesota. And content creators and people with a platform have a platform, right? They have the ability to speak out. So I've tried to speak out as much as I could today, despite the fact that I'm Canadian, right? I'm still just trying to speak out. I have friends in Minnesota, so it's just really crazy and really sad what's going on right now. And, I'm just really worried for everyone. So that's all I can say on that. I think this episode will be pretty short just because Beverly Hills is just doing what it's doing. Like, I don't want to be negative about it every week. Like, I always try to find something. And there definitely was some stuff that happened in this episode that can lead to some discourse. But just remember, before we chat about it, that, we all have our different opinions, and that's okay. And, I was threading a little bit about this online when it comes to Amanda and Dorit and the whole end of the episode. And obviously we'll get there. But it seems like people can have totally one opinion or totally the opposite opinion, but definitely not in the middle at all. So just keep in mind that I'm going to have an opinion. I definitely probably see the other side, but we just don't need to get mad about it, right? Like it's totally cool. And discourse is fun and great, and we just don't need to get upset. So, all that being said, let's just get into it. Okay, so I'm just worried about Bose, honestly, because she's going through this egg retrieval journey. She's 47 years old, and she's never had a good pregnancy, right? She had her other child die, and then she had some sort of issue with her living child. And so she's just worried because this is what Keely wants. And what if it doesn't work? And so she just has a lot on her plate, pressure wise, because she feels like this has to work, because if this doesn't work, Keely's not going to be satisfied. Now, this is a lot of pressure to place on a 47-year-old woman. Look, I don't want to age shame her, obviously, but I think we all understand that a woman's body does not function the same way as we age. And I think it's great that they were able to get eggs and everything. And I think, there's a chance, right? But the chances aren't as good when you're not in your 20s, right? I mean, even what do they say now? Is it over 35? Anything over 35 is considered a geriatric pregnancy, which is insane, right? But that's the truth. So 47 years old and then putting your body through all of that, it's a lot. And she's had issues with pregnancies before. So I just don't understand why he started dating someone so old. I'll just say that, okay? If it was so important to him to have children, why did he start dating her? Did he just not understand how that works? Or did they just, I forget how they met. Did they just see each other and fall in love? Because then, all right. I mean, not fall in love. I remember it took him quite some time to say it. But it just, if at that age, you should sort of know what you want, and don't go for a woman of that age if you still want children. It just doesn't make sense. So now it's putting so much pressure on her. And of course, they're now currently engaged, and that's amazing. But I haven't heard anything further on her pregnancy journey. So my apologies, because I do think she was on Watch What Happens Live the other day. I don't know if she updated it, but she's definitely not pregnant, right? I would definitely know about that. So she's not pregnant. So I don't know. I just worry that she's gonna worry that he's gonna leave her. And is that true? Is he gonna leave her? It just feels like a ticking time bomb. So I hope that this guy really loves her. I really do, because I can't imagine trying to go through life and a new marriage constantly feeling like on eggshells that I can't like produce what my husband is wanting, right? I'm sure that has torn many marriages apart. And that can happen at any age, right? It's not just because of her age. That can happen because, people can be infertile for many reasons, right? So that can definitely happen. It's just to go into it knowing that that's something that he 100% wants, and that there's such a small chance that she's able to provide, just feels weird. I don't remember what their discussions were, if there were any on adoption or anything like that. Do you guys remember? Send me a message. I don't recall if they had any other discussions about going about having children in other ways. I just feel like a natural pregnancy on her is just so difficult. Like, I'm just worried for her. I just hope that he would love her anyway. That's all I'm worried about. Okay. So then we get some information about Amanda that is super sad. So she actually had twins, and her son Zion, he died at 5 days old. Um, she told the ladies about this 4 weeks ago, and the anniversary is coming up, and she reacts differently every year. So she feels like, okay, Rachel's having this dinner. I'm gonna go because maybe it'll be good for me to be around friends. But this is good information to know. So she has one son, Kanan, I think is his name. And so it would have been his twin. And it's just horrific the way that she describes what happened. I can't even imagine like what you go through in the NICU, and like I can't, right? It's totally horrific. And I feel for her, right? I mean, it's so incredibly sad. I know we don't like her, right? We can take the two things apart, of course, right? Is she annoying? Absolutely, and we'll get back to that. But is this a devastating thing that happened to her and her family? Abso-fucking-lutely. And can we give her a little bit of grace today? Abso-fucking-lutely. Okay, so Rachel is having a candlelit dinner because there was no power on her street. She's like, this happens to me all the time. And that is so something that would happen to me too. Like, I try to plan ahead for things that are going to be broken. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to buy this couch and it's going to come with one leg missing. So when that happens, I want to make sure I already have the contact information to be able to get it back and to be able to reserve the elevator and all this stuff, right? And I'm always right. I'm always fucking right. So we meet this new girl, Natalie. So I guess she's going to be a friend of. We didn't get much about her, but her and Rachel met years ago. It's funny that Rachel is bringing on the friend of, but I like it. So she was married to Simon Fuller, who was in the music industry. And this name sounds so incredibly familiar, which I could obviously just look right up. And I hate when podcasters start Googling while they are podcasting. But I'm just going to do that for like a quick sec because I just want to remember who this is. This guy looks so familiar. The Idol? He works with TikTok. Cool. Billboard. Impact on music culture? Oh, he managed the Spice Girls. Do we know? Is that something I would know? Is that something we know about someone? Um, Spice Girls. S Club 7. He managed S Club 7. Uh, I don't know. Why do I know this name? It feels like someone with this name hung out with the Kardashians, and that's why I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's where my mind is going. Anyways, someone in the music industry, obviously, someone important. So that's sort of all we get about her. We don't get a ton, but she's definitely had like a glow up. So Dorit tells us that she got a book deal, and I forget what this is called again. It's like Unbearable or something like that. Unbreakable, Unbearable, something in that regard. And she actually says that she picked a mother-daughter co-writing duo to like be her ghostwriter for it. And she says it very nonchalantly, like it would be a very normal thing to do. And Amanda's just like, oh, I just sat down and wrote my book. It never occurred to me not to do it myself. Okay, well, a lot of these ladies have had co-authors, so they all get kind of like lit up about it because like Erica Jane did not write her book herself. And it's just like the undercurrent of everything that she says is with this like uppity nature where it's like, oh, well, I'm better than you. And it's like, why do you have to talk like that? Like, you are in the first season. Why aren't you trying to relate to them? You should just talk about how hard writing is or something, right? Like, why are you trying to act like you're better than them? It's just so bizarre. It's not how to make friends, right? You're not manifesting friends. It's not working. Um, so Rachel asked the camera if Amanda is okay because she's always putting someone down to lift herself up. Maybe that is a way of winning with her. Okay, so maybe it's like with Jennifer Aiden, right? With the 16 bathrooms or whatever it was. She, I assume, because I don't quite recall, I think she was doing it to try to impress them and because she was trying to make friends. But like, maybe Amanda does make friends in that way with other people. I just can't imagine how, because I can't imagine that anyone would appreciate being spoken to that way, especially women who are older. And I don't mean that again in an ageist way. I just mean like these women are very accomplished as well, beyond your years, Amanda, okay? And have done a lot of work themselves. So it's just, yeah, I don't like it. So we have this scene of Jennifer and Sutton sitting down to talk because Kyle had told her that Jennifer said that because, Sutton makes everything about her and stirs up trouble. That's why Garcelle ended their friendship. And so Sutton's like, yeah, I got to sit down and have a conversation with Jennifer. We've been friends for like 18 years or something like that. So Jennifer admits to like some of it, but she says like she doesn't really remember saying the part about Garcelle, but she does apologize for venting to Kyle. And like, I feel like there's a lot of discourse on the internet about like whether Kyle should have told her, just in regards to any show though, where it's like Austin telling all of the girls at the sleepover what Craig said. That is what we have to do on the show, right? So I can't really blame Kyle for telling Sutton that. And like, I don't know. A lot of people are talking online too about that fact that Jennifer Tilly may have thought that she was off camera. I don't know why she would have thought she was off camera. Again, we all vent, right? And it sucks to have it happen on camera. And I think that's a little part of it, right? Like we all have those moments and we all sort of want to have it to someone that would understand. For Sutton to vent to like her therapist, it just wouldn't have the same effect as it does, or sorry, not Sutton. For Jennifer Tilly to vent to her therapist is different than venting to Kyle because Kyle knows Sutton. So she sort of like gets it. She sort of has that like internal sort of knowledge. But to do it on camera, regardless, it just feels kind of shitty, right? Especially after losing Garcelle. And you know that Garcelle is at home giving a little smirk, right? So I get that for sure. Um, but they're all good at the end of it. So we do have a tarot card reader come, and she says that she's sort of a medium as well. Now she tells Amanda that she is a manifester, and Amanda's like, "Oh, of course I am. Oh my God, I wrote a book on manifesting." And so, okay, maybe you let me just tell my history, I guess, with like the supernatural. So I guess at its core, I do believe in the supernatural. I do have a lot of spiritual beliefs. Um, but for some reason, I think that I'm blocked. Like, I can't sit there and say that I believe everything that a psychic says or a medium says or anything like that. But I do, I've heard these stories that are crazy where people are just like, they knew these things that there's no way that they could have known. And I totally believe that. But I feel like every time I go to one of these people, they tell me that they can't really get anything from me. And then I'm blocked in some way. So I don't know what that is. And I don't know if it's because I don't believe it fully, but that doesn't really make sense, right? And so here, I'm just going to talk about my couple of experiences. Okay, so here's one. So I was at a friend's house who was this is so stupid. She was 3 years younger than me. So I was 29 and she was 26. I lived on my own. She didn't. She had two friends over and we were supposed to go to Buffalo for the day. It's like a kind of a thing to do in Toronto to like go across the border and to like go shopping at like, what's the mall? Like, Walden Galleria or whatever, in Buffalo and make like a day trip out of it. But it turned out to be like such terrible weather that we didn't go. But I was kind of annoyed because like I had taken the day off of work. And they were all just sort of like, I forget what they were doing at the time, like not working full time in any real way, still just kind of like figuring it out. And we're all living at home. But I had taken like the day off work, and I'm like, "Oh, can't we just like, make it work?" And they're just like, "Oh, my mom would be so mad at me. My mom would be mad." I'm like, my mom doesn't even know where I am. This is so annoying, right? We're only 3 years apart, but I guess it's like a whole different vibe when you're living at home. And I was just really annoyed because it was just like a waste of a day. So one of the girls, her aunt was over and her aunt would read, I believe it was reading tarot cards. I believe that's what she ended up doing for us. So this was like my first experience with something like this. So she reads it for her own niece, and she's like, "Oh, you're into travel. You're going to be doing something with travel." And it's just like, duh, right? It's like your own niece, and everybody knew that like Debbie loved to travel, right? That made sense. That's what Debbie was going to do. It's something with like travel and also dance, like travel, Zumba. I don't know. Anyways, so I was just like, okay, these are all like obvious. And then when this other girl went, she was getting some information. It wasn't even anything. It was just sort of about her relationship. And it was sort of like in a rocky place. And the aunt was saying, like, oh, this may not be the one for you, which is just like, okay, that could be, it's not very specific. And then my friend just sort of broke down. And, you know, I think a lot of that had to do with her own emotions and, not necessarily the information she was getting from the reader. So I was just sort of being a little skeptical at this point. And then she does it with me, or she looks at me and she's like, "You're sad." I'm like, okay. And then she said, there was this time where you could have gone left, but instead you went right, like a big decision. I'm like, okay. And I'm thinking, right? I can't think of anything. And I'm like, I don't, I don't know, right? It literally could be anything, but like there was never been like a huge, it was maybe like where I went to university, but I never regretted where I went to university. So I don't know. Right now, like I have to think about it. And I guess that's not how that works, obviously. But I was just like, I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be the first thing that comes to mind, but like nothing came to mind. And so I didn't really know where to go with it. And then she's like, "Oh, you're blocked." I'm like, okay. And then I went with a friend and we went to a reader at her home. And she was like an elderly lady and she lived like in a town like an hour away from us. We had heard about it from this girl that we worked with. And so it was me and my gay best friend slash assistant. So this is relevant. So we go and I'm really excited about it. It was really expensive too. We kind of like saved up. So she says that she's going to do a reading with him first. And before we start, she was like, "Oh, wait, did she ask us before?" Yeah, right before she was like, "Oh, are you guys dating?" And I would first of all, I thought it was just a weird question, like, wouldn't you know because you're a psychic? But also he's so gay, right? Like he had talked for a bit. Like it was very obvious that he was gay. Like just very obvious. Okay. Like I couldn't be more clear. So I was just kind of put off by that. But my friend was like, "No, I think like she's just too old to even know what gay is." I'm like, okay. That just put me off because like you don't have to be a psychic to know that he's gay. He was very obviously gay. So, but then I could hear through the wall, like when she was doing his reading, she was talking about this porch that his grandmother had as a kid, and that she would push him on this swing, and it was like to the left, and like all of this stuff that was so incredibly spot on for him. But so then I got excited. So I feel like when I went into the room, I was open. So when I went in for my reading, she was just like, "Did you drop out of university?" I'm like, "No, I have a master's." And she's like, "Oh, did you this?" And I just none of it was right. It just felt, and so maybe I just blocked off right away, but like then she just couldn't come up with anything. And then she started just like reading cards. I didn't really get anything out of it whatsoever. And it was really expensive. That's sort of what I remember about it. And I also remember that she kept it going on for a really long time just because I feel like she felt so compelled to like give me something. She did say that like I would fall in love, or that did she say I would fall in love? I think she did with somebody named like I'm trying to remember the name. It was a girl's name or a guy's name, something like Carl. Carla? I forget. Which was someone I knew at the time. Why Clara? Clara, that's what it was. Clara. And then she goes, "It was something like Claire, Claire." I'm like, "Clara?" And then she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I have a friend named Clara." Oh, and then she tried to bring people forward from the dead that like I'd never had a conversation with in my life, like people that died when I was a kid. So I was just like, "Oh, hi." I don't know. It was weird. So it's like I believe it, but then I also like haven't really had the experience. But I think that's me in some way. I just wish I knew how to unblock. I guess so. If anybody knows how to unblock yourself to be open enough to be able to get a true psychic reading, please let me know. Please send me a DM. So Anyways, Amanda's really excited because she thinks that this woman is going to be able to like get a sense of her son. And so she's like, "Do you feel anything?" And the tarot card reader's like, "No, like I don't, right?" And so she's really sad because like that's the anniversary and she feels like, he comes forward for her husband a lot. Like he'll feel signs of Zion around, but that's not something that she typically feels. And that must be difficult, right? Like it's probably a little senses of comfort that her husband is able to get that she hasn't been able to get. So that's kind of sad. And it's crazy that this entire episode, well, because then we're talking about the Valley Persian style. So our entire episode today is all about like woo woo and Delulu, which is what we're calling it today. Um, okay. So as I mentioned, she came to the dinner because she thought it would be a good distraction to hang out with friends. And we've seen that happen in other housewife shows before. Like it makes sense, right? Like, okay, maybe I could be distracted by this. And there was something that she said at the in the after show that I didn't see, but I heard somebody else say on a podcast that apparently on the after show, Amanda didn't really think about being attacked at dinner because she's not used to that. She's not used to, oh, when I go to a dinner, I'm going to get attacked. So she didn't really think about it. And I think that's fair, right? Again, we can hate Amanda, but we can understand a couple of things. Should she have gone to the dinner? Absolutely not. Let's all agree on that. But I can understand why she thought maybe it would be okay. So Dorit confronts Amanda at dinner about speaking about her divorce from PK and how she's sort of concerned that with Dorit shit talking him on the show and how that could affect the divorce. So Amanda just looks like she has no idea what Dorit is talking about because there was two conversations. There was one with Kyle and there was one with the group. The one with Kyle was sort of nothing, but the one with the group was more so where she was like, oh, talking about him being an alcoholic, that could be more of an issue. But like still, it wasn't like that much. But again, it's normal for these women to go ahead and tell Dorit what they heard. But no one knows in this moment, except for Kyle, I believe, that this is the anniversary of Zion's death. So Amanda just looks so completely defeated and confused and like drained by this topic. And she's like, honestly, Dorit, I'm like holding on by a thread because Zion died 3 years ago today. And Kathy's like, who's that? Your dog? Like, oh my God. And it's like, we love Kathy Hilton, right? Do not get me wrong. We love our Kathyisms, but not the time. There have been a couple of times where Kathy's Kathy'd a little too close to the sun. And it's dangerous, right? This was one of those moments. But here's where it gets tricky. So Dorit apologizes and says maybe they can talk about it another time, but then keeps going and says that she shouldn't really have an opinion when she doesn't know Dorit or PK. And Amanda, who like barely looks like she's even like there, is like, I don't think I had a strong opinion about it, which is so funny because she's sitting here like if she did, she'd even remember the situation, right? But she doesn't. So that's how like minuscule this is. And she's like, but again, that's not anyone's fault, right? Like this information is brought to Dorit, so obviously, and she's hearing it third hand, so she obviously is thinking it's a bigger deal than it is. And to Amanda, it was nothing to the point where she's forgotten about it. So she's like, do you think it's fair to bring this to me when I just shared what I'm going through? And Dorit's like, okay, like fine, but like you keep bringing it up. So then Amanda decides to leave to be with her husband. And Dorit tells the camera that if she had known it was the anniversary, she would have never brought it up. And I hope that that's true. So then it just gets all like confusing. So like at the front door, Dorit tries to like approach Amanda to apologize, but then kind of blames Amanda for not saying anything about it. And then she wipes a tear from Amanda's face. And Amanda's like, can you please not touch me right now? And Dorit's like, well, it was just a nice gesture. And then she accuses Amanda of continuing the conversation. It's like, stop. And Amanda's like, I think you very much wanted to keep going after I told you about my son, right? And here's the thing, like from that first exact moment where Amanda said, like, today is the anniversary, Dorit did say, maybe we can talk about it another time, but also, and then continued it right there. So Dorit started it. Okay, I'll say that. Do I think that Amanda weaponized it a little bit as well? Yes. Which is icky and weird to say. But I guess I'll just say it in the sense that it's a difficult thing to go through, and everyone goes through a trauma like that differently. We've been talking about trauma quite a bit here on Bravo lately. And Everyone reacts differently to trauma. We don't know Amanda at all right now, right? All we know about her is that she is extremely annoying and she is a one-upper, but she's also had this extreme trauma in her life. And it's sort of hard to reconcile how to feel about her in light of those two things, because of course we feel sorry and sad for her, but then we also just don't know how to trust her or feel about the things that she says because we don't like all the other things that she says. So it gets murky for us, right? But it's nonetheless, I wish this whole thing sort of hadn't have happened. So note for next time, I think that Amanda should stay home if she is on the show next year, which I don't think she is. Okay, let's move on to the Valley Persian style. So we're back at the table with Dennis and Gigi where they're fighting and everything. Remember that they got married back in November 2024 in Vegas, had a crazy like Britney Spears style wedding, got it annulled like 10 days later. Then he starts dating her friend and she is livid over this. But now she's fine to like be friends with him again because they've been friends for like 13 years and they used to work together on this like sex toy line that Gigi has. So I guess she's trying to like bring in money now because she's like, well, she's not broke, but she's still just trying to find a place to live and get into business. But this whole thing with Dennis is still very confusing for me, like I said in the last episode, because I don't know him. And so this could be on me, you guys. So if this is like if he's from Shaw's from before, then I will do my homework, which I'm starting to do, I promise. I finished season 1. But I just don't understand the big deal with Dennis. And I'll keep repeating what I said. It's like Gigi basically said that she got married to Dennis to get back at her ex-boyfriend Ty. She was never really in love with Dennis. She knew that Dennis always had a thing for her. So why is she hurt that he moved on with someone else when she's never had feelings for him? Like, is it just like a jealousy thing? Is it like a I want you kind of thing? Is it a disrespect? Because I just don't understand the like vitriol about it. Only because she never loved him. She never loved him unless she did, and there's something I'm missing. Okay. So the whole group of everybody decide to go to Palm Springs together, like a good the Valley trip as they are. And Amir and Natasha, before the trip, they talk about how Adam is going to be bringing a medium there. So Natasha tells the camera that at the beginning of her relationship with Amir, they talked about Lauren a lot. So Lauren was Amir's first wife who died of cancer when she was young, and it was very sudden. So then they had kids, and so they don't really talk about her much anymore. But she just sort of doesn't know if she wants to be a part of that conversation. And I can imagine that being extremely difficult, right? Like, oh my gosh. So for Amir, I mean, before we even get into it for Amir, I can't even imagine having a loved one die in such a way. And something that he talked about was the finality of it. And you sort of never get that closure. And so to be able to speak to a medium and to be able to get a sense from his ex-wife to know how ex-wife, sorry, his wife, his previous wife, how she feels about the life that he lives now, right? I mean, it's just so complicated. And I, of course, imagine that he would just want to know that she's okay and that he'd want to let her know that he's okay. And for Natasha, that's so complex, right? Because she loves Amir. She wants to be there to support him as her wife. But there's got to be like a sense of almost like jealousy that you feel disgusting to even feel because it's like about someone who's not even here anymore. But it's such a complicated feeling because this was someone that your husband loved deeply and wanted to have a family with, was married to, was going to spend the rest of his life with if she didn't die, right? There would have been a whole different sequence of events if that's what had happened. And that's got to kind of like mentally fuck with you. So I can imagine why it would be a difficult decision for her to decide whether to physically be there or not. I'm going to say this now as opposed to later, but I mean, when we end up doing this with the medium, everybody is sitting together. And even just the whole, even Natasha and Amir of it all, I mean, maybe it's different dependent on like whether it's a psychic or a medium, a tarot card reader, but like, can everybody really be all crowded around like that? Because I really thought like you can't have a lot of people around and it really just has to be like you and the person so that not the wrong spirits are coming through. I don't know. Or that you're not getting the wrong kind of reading. That's how it is here in Ontario. That's so I just sort of wonder what that means. Or maybe it means something different in terms of spirits coming through as opposed to getting like a psychic reading of yourself. Because I feel like for a psychic reading of yourself here, they want it just to be your energy. Or do you remember when like Stassi did it on Vanderpump Rules and they took her to like the or Katie took her to the Oracle of Los Angeles or something like that, and the woman made Katie stand outside for a second, right, to do a clearing circle around Stassi so that it would just sort of be around her. Anyways, it was just something I was thinking about. So Amir, like I said, was sort of expressing how it was the hardest thing, or the hardest part of it was the finality of it. And it's weird being, or it was weird being in a relationship again after Lauren died. He would have these flashbacks to her that he would keep inside because he didn't know how to deal with those feelings. And eventually they went away. He understands if Natasha doesn't want to be there and he doesn't want her to feel a type of way about it because he really loves Natasha and he feels so incredibly grateful for her. So that's just like so interesting, right? I I wish we could have been a fly on the wall back then when he was transitioning from that time, from going through that extreme grief to then meeting Natasha and falling in love again, and probably even having like guilty feelings about that. That's probably what those flashbacks were. And it sounds like he never really dealt with those feelings. He says that his biggest fear with the medium is to get emotional, and he's nervous to hear what Lauren thinks about the life that he lives now. That totally makes sense because if he starts to cry and gets crazy emotional, he doesn't want Natasha to think that that's like, of course it's a sadness, right? Of course there's a sadness and a love, and that makes sense. He just doesn't want Natasha to feel a type of way, right? Like, I don't know how else to describe it, which is so funny because the phrase feel a type of way is like only like what, 5 years old? I feel like it's still like a new agey phrase, but it's like Natasha knows there are going to be feelings there, but the feelings are complicated. And yeah, I mean, can you imagine that Lauren said, or Lauren comes through and says, like, I don't like the life that you live. I don't like your kids. I don't like whatever. I mean, that would be crazy, right? Like, how would you even feel about that? So MJ has Gigi and Natasha and the kids over, and Gigi asks why Tommy won't come around. And she's like, well, like he doesn't want to like see or talk to Reza, and he just wants to consider it like I have my friends and you have your separate friends. So he's not coming to Palm Springs either. So I'm still confused about exactly what happened between them. Things, I guess, got super contentious when MJ was pregnant. She was in the hospital for a long time, and I guess Reza did come visit. And I want to know why. That's the part I'm confused about. Were they in a bad place at the time? What was going on? Was Reza aware of this? And then we see footage a lot in this show of like Tommy throwing things at Reza's house, like outside of his house, and something about a restraining order. So I guess that's what happened. Tommy came and like busted up the outside of the house because of this. I'm gonna get there, I guess, when I get to those seasons of Shaw's. I'm not quite sure, but this is difficult, right? I mean, I dated someone who was sort of like this. He would do it for different reasons, just because he was like a dick. He'd make me go to things by myself, basically. So I can resonate with this. And Reza even calls MJ later like a married single woman, and like, yeah, that was so me. I totally resonate with that. I mean, a lot of people are talking online about whether this had anything to do with why they're divorced now. And like, I don't really think so. Like, it's not like he's going out with friends and being crazy. Like, he's staying home with his son. But at the same time, he's not doing something that she wants him to do. I mean, we'll get there, right? When she asks him, we'll get to that part. So Sky approaches Gigi about smoking weed at her house. And she's really worried about having this conversation with her. Because remember last week at the trunk show that Sky had at her house, Gigi just like pulls out a joint. She's just smoking away. And Sky's like, Sky is super stoic. She's super pretentious. And that's just like not her vibe. So she's super worried about having this conversation with Gigi, but she knows that she has to have it because it's reality TV. So good for you, Sky. And I still want to keep giving all of these people props for like doing their jobs really well. So Gigi's fine with it. She's like, yeah, that's cool. You approach me about it with respect. That's cool. She truly thought that Gigi was going to hit her. But the best part was like when they go back to the table, Gigi's like, oh yeah, I slapped her or something. And everyone's like, oh, you did? Because that's something Gigi would do, right? So she's just such an interesting character. And people have likened her to so many different people. People have said, like Jax Taylor, I think she's like Crazy Kristen in Crazy Kristen days, where she just sort of goes in and out of moods. I don't know. She's a mixture of a lot of people. Okay, so Reza and MJ sit down and they start talking about Tommy. And Reza says, like, when Tommy drops me off, he doesn't want to say anything, like he doesn't cause drama. or sorry, Reza says that like, yeah, he doesn't want to like say anything to Tommy because he doesn't want to like start anything. So MJ explains that Tommy doesn't even have his own friends here. They're all in New York. So it's harder to crack into him, but she would appreciate if Reza would try to like break the ice by starting to try to say hi to him. And Reza asks if the point of that is to just like tolerate each other or is he open to being friends? And MJ says that they have to start with the icebreaker, which I would love to get on camera. Like obviously that would be amazing. Now Reza tells the camera that he will do this for MJ and he wants Tommy to be around. And again, I just feel like I'm missing a lot of context, and that's on me. I will get caught up with these seasons of Shaw's and figure it out. But from what I'm understanding, it's like a lot of people are understanding of why Tommy would not want to forgive Reza. And you know what? That is his right. But also, there's something to be said for being there for your wife, right? Like, why does she have to go to everything alone? He is filming. It's not like he's not filming because that would be really annoying, right? They are getting their family scenes. She's got Vita. We got Vita and Tommy. Yeah, you know what? I think we can't even say that he's not really doing anything because think about like Stassi seasons whatever of Vanderpump Rules where like Patrick would never come around, right? Wouldn't be part of the show for years, or Randall wouldn't be part of the show for years. At least this guy's part of the show and he's willing to film like scenes with her. And maybe eventually it'll grow to Gigi and eventually to other people, but I guess we'll see. So we have the group sitting down with the medium. And this is sort of what I'm talking about because they're all sitting on a couch and there's like 10 of them. Because remember, there's like so many people in these sets of couples. But she starts with Reza, and this is so interesting. She's talking about seeing him like dancing a certain way, like Michael Jackson. And he is like shocked by this because his real last name is not Jackson. It's like this whole persona that he used to put on as a child as Michael Jackson. Now, I'm very curious if whether this is Googleable. Of course, my mind has to go there, you guys. Initially, it always has to go there initially. Like I said, I'm spiritual. I believe in this stuff, but it doesn't mean I believe in all of them. And who knows? Who knows? We've seen some faulty ones over the years, right? Um, and yeah, I just was so confused by how so many people were able to come through and they were all sitting so close together. So Amira's first wife comes through. She ends up telling him that she loves him and she didn't mean to go when she did. And this is just like so emotional. It's crazy because like I have met these characters, what, 4 times now? And like this story just absolutely pains me. Maybe it's because I watched the episode where Amir told this story. Like maybe I watched that episode like 4 times. So even though there's only been 4 episodes, I've probably watched Amir for like 12 episodes or something like that. But like this story just absolutely like breaks me, even though I barely know these people. And she says that she loves Natasha. She thinks that Natasha is a good fit for Amir and that she actually plays with their kids. And that she says that she always wanted to be able to give him a beautiful family. And Natasha tells the camera that she feels grateful to know that Lauren supports her and their family. And she feels for Amir because he loved her so much and he wanted to have a family with her. And this entire thing is just so insanely emotional to watch. I am so happy that they were able to get that sort of like closure, right? Because it's you can have your wife die and say like I want you to move on, I want you to be happy, but he never really got to know that she was okay with like what he ended up getting, right? And I love that he considers Natasha like such a blessing and has so much love for her. Like the way that they are, even when they have like this dinner scene that I didn't even get into because there's nothing really to recap there. They're basically just going over the plans for whether they're going to bring the kids to Palm Springs or not, or how they're going to figure it out. But he's just like, oh, your lips and blah, blah, blah. You're so beautiful. Like it's like they just got married, right? And they have 3 kids under 6. So I just think their relationship is beautiful. And I think that I think because what he's been through, he's so much more appreciative of the relationship that he has because of how quickly he knows that it can be gone. Is that insightful? I think that's pretty insightful. And maybe that's why he's such a good guy, right? He had something amazing and it was like snatched away from him. And then when he found something amazing as well, not necessarily not necessarily better than, he found Natasha and he fell in love. And like to know that Lauren is like, yes, I am so happy with who you picked and I love your children. I feel like you could almost like intrinsically sleep better at night. Not necessarily if you even had trouble sleeping. I could bet it could just be one of those things where you didn't even know that you needed, that you just get that peace from. So that was very, very cool. And yeah, I really believe what she said. So we have this scene of MJ talking on the phone to Tommy about making peace with Reza. So remember, she's already talked with Reza. Reza's like, yeah, like I'll try to do this icebreaker thing. I'll do that for you. But Tommy just won't. Like he hasn't forgiven Reza, but MJ has. And that's where it just gets confusing for her because she's like, I've made my peace with it. So Tommy tells the camera that Reza has said crazy shit to his wife, but then they're friends again the next day, and he wants to stay away from that. Okay, I've seen that. I've definitely seen that on this show in like the early shows that I'm watching. But also, Tommy, you say crazy shit too. And while he doesn't do it maliciously and Reza does, it's different. I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think about that because it doesn't seem from that like confessional from Tommy, it doesn't seem that this is just about that final fight about the hospital. It seems like there's more here. So again, I've missed many seasons of their lives. And if there's something else here about the way Reza is that would make Tommy not want him to really be around or not want to be around him, like, yeah, let me know. I'm curious. So she asked Tommy if he'll talk to Reza off camera for her. And basically he says no. And she's like, come on, man. But yeah, no means no. So we have the whole crew going out to dinner for Adam's birthday. And Dennis shows up out of nowhere. But it seems that he had been invited by Gigi. And so Gigi's just like telling the camera, well, I'm getting back into business with him. He's in my life again. People are going to be pissed because he hurt me. My friends back me up. So I'm just going to dump him on everyone in like one go. Now, MJ and Reza are not happy because he hurt Gigi, but she's going to be back in business with him. But they basically want to call him out for getting engaged like 4 times in 1 year and moving on so quickly, living for the gram, MJ says, and moving on with that girl. And again, I am confused because did she have feelings for him or not? Like, why are MJ and Reza on the train about this? Because if Gigi never loved him and it was sort of like a faux nothing marriage for 10 days. Why is it a big deal? I'm also very curious if he's still with the girl, the friend, the ex-friend, and what happened to her. Dennis is like, Gigi, like, if she and I are good, then it should be like fine for you guys. And Gigi asks Dennis if he feels comfortable with her sharing her side of the story. And when he pauses, she just blows up and screams out of nowhere, it's yes or no answer. So that was sort of like a little Kristen Doty for me. Because she's just sort of like, he's not taking any accountability. So she's really annoyed. And he kind of keeps throwing things back at other people because he has MJ and Reza saying, like, we don't like this and we don't like this. And he's like saying things like, well, were you around for 13 years when Gigi was treating me like crap? Or, well, Gigi's fine with me now. So you guys should be, right? So she's not liking that. So she wants to share her side. But he takes like a brief pause and she just snaps. She flips a switch and she just starts screaming. And that's the thing about Gigi. She's kind of like a loose cannon in that regard. Now, she's been doing a ton of interviews lately. I don't know if I should listen. I don't know if it'll give me more insight. I know that people are asking her a lot of questions about the weed of $3,000 to $4,000 a month. And, I don't know how much more we can ask about it, but I can definitely see if we can delve into some information on Gigi because I would like to know if she sees a therapist. And I don't mean that in a negative way. We should all go to therapy, but I would love to be in a room with one with her. And I don't mean me personally. I mean us on the camera, right? Like how cool would that be? Because I'd really like to know what's up there. Yeah. All right, you guys, that is the end of the episode. I will see you back on Monday for our reality roundup. Until then, you can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, my YouTube channel, and Facebook at The Bravo Investigator. Sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator podcast. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/The Bravo Investigator podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BB. See you next time.